All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the afternoon training session. Today we'll be looking at the red DSMC2 lineup. If we can cut to my laptop on this big screen, we'll see that what I'm looking at here. Hang on. So we're going to be starting with DSMC versus DSMC2. And of course, you can't be in Vegas and not talk about boxing, right? So we're looking at original DSMC, right, which was of course Weapon and with Dragon and Scarlet, versus the new lineup of DSMC2 products, which would be Weapon, Raven, and SCARLET-W. So there's this really great chart that Phil Holland, who's sort of famous on Red User, creative visual artist that he's made. Of course, he has this fantastic chart. I'm not going to bore you with this here because this is way too small and tiny text, but this does a really nice job going into some of the differences between the lineup. But I thought today we would break into that a little bit deeper and sort of dive into it a little bit. Right? So let's sort of look at first, though, the brand new stuff introduced for this year at NAB 2016. So right off the bat, we got an announcement about, I think, Sunday or Monday on the new stuff, right, of which includes, first and foremost, Avid DNX HD support is currently available for download in beta form. So if you're a Weapon owner, you are more than welcome to go online right now and download this for your camera system. Also today, or 2 days ago rather I should say, they announced the new side handle, which is very exciting. So it replaces the side kick, which is on the side of the camera you can see on our Weapon on the stage here. If you want to go back to using a handle, we have that available as well. I actually have one here on the SCARLET-W that we'll pass around if you guys want to see it. It's very exciting. Also the new SDI jetpack. Right, the jetpack was originally available in HDMI mode. HDMI jetpack was good, again, mostly for gimbals or for smaller builds, because the HDMI and the power went sort of in a north-south configuration as opposed to an east-west where it didn't stick out. So if you're on a Movi or an aero platform of any sort, having that data, or rather actually video and power connector coming down the bottom was really good for that for the yoke reasons. Also the new, what do they call it? A Red Pro Touch 7-inch screen designed for a remote application, meaning you're putting it on a rig, you're going to put it on a C-stand, you're going to mount it on a Noga arm somewhere. It actually looks a lot like the original screen that came with the Red One, right? The Limo connector is on the back of it. So it doesn't have the articulation on this built in. This is meant, again, to be mounted or rigged on something else, right? So the new 7-inch Pro touchscreen. There's also a new V-Lock battery module, which will stack with all the other modules. Lets you use industry standard V-Lock battery configuration. If you want to go really simple, you can take that V-Lock battery module, clip it to the back of the camera directly for really simple, streamlined battery solutions if you don't need any inputs and outputs. If you plan on recording internally, for example, using that new battery module is really powerful for that functionality. Or again, you could stack it on top of other modules as well to sort of grow your system. So that's the big announcements for Red for 2016 at this year's NAB. But when we look at the actual differences between the different cameras, you need to look at sort of the little ins and outs and what they've done to it a little bit differently. So one of the main things was cable-free modularity. Right? There are 2 sets of pogo connectors, right, spring-loaded connectors, that you're able to use for your viewfinders or your LCD screens. So for example, on the Weapon that we have on the stage here, we have a 7-inch touchscreen, which is connected without any cables whatsoever. It's connected directly to those pogo connectors. On the side of it, there is also a pogo connector for your viewfinder. Usually traditionally goes on that side for the operator, but you can also put a secondary screen if you want, right, which is nice to be cable-free. Of course, if you own existing screens from Red, you are also able to use those existing screens via an adapter, right? It's called a Limo adapter. It goes in 2 directions. So either you can use the 7-inch screen that we have here without cables on a traditional DSMC1 product, meaning a Scarlet or an Epic, or you can use the new screens on other way around, or you can use an older screen that came off the DSMC1 line on the new DSMC2 products. A little modular adapter that connects straight to the top or the side of the camera, traditional Limo output that you connect everything directly. There's also a pogo connector on the very top of the camera. That top handle is now an active start-stop switch, so there is a start-stop switch built in, sort of if you're doing action sports or kind of low mode, there's now a start-stop switch built into the top handle as well. Right. Between the screens, there's a couple different sizes. You look at the 7-inch screen here, but there's also a 4.7-inch screen that they announced at IBC, which is really nice, high-resolution, full raster screen. Doesn't articulate, but it does tilt, which is really nice for the smaller builds. Personally, I think it's perfect. Hello. Personally, I think it's perfect for the Raven W. We lost audio, guys. I don't know what's going on. Sorry. All right, screw that. Hello. Somebody go to red mic. Go to the red microphone. Check, check. Check. All right, I'm going to use this microphone instead because that one died. Sorry about that. So what were we saying? So the 4.7-inch screen, I personally think is actually kind of perfect for the Raven build. It's a nice and small, compact camera body, nice tilting screen. It's great for action sports, great for those low, quick and dirty, in my opinion, kind of those quick and dirty shoots. Also, one of the big things with the Red when they did this design process was they looked at the modularity and how people are using the original DSMC1 products. And they noticed that everyone, of course, is building it different ways. So what they've done is they've taken this rearward-facing modules and they've opened up the different options. So we have here on this a base expander with the Red Vault XLs, but you see here Red has also kindly provided sort of the full-size XL base expander, which has more inputs and outputs. So if you need the additional HD SDI outputs, you need the gen lock and time code using full-size barrels or 10 gig Ethernet, the XLR, for example, that's all part of this as well. That Jetpack SDI and Jetpack HDMI I mentioned earlier is also part of this. So if you don't need all these connectors, you don't need battery connectors because you're powering via AC power or some other rig, you can get a slightly smaller output option as well. One of my favorite things that they've done with this whole system is they've actually opened it up to third-party providers, and that's been a big deal. So now you have folks like Wooden Camera, our friends at Tilta, which is right behind us. They have a really, really awesome weapon cage, which you should all take a look at. That has HD SDI everywhere. There's 3 outputs on the top, for example. There's additional gen lock and time code options on the side, different battery mounting options. Right? We're just starting to see that API be unlocked, and all the other manufacturers that Red has partnered with has now been able to really support it with all these very exciting accessories. Off Hollywood, of course, has their O-mods, which is very interesting. It has built in a lot of support for third-party devices such as Teradek Color, Teradek video streaming, live grade capabilities wirelessly via the built-in Wi-Fi. Right, that's a very sort of new concept, really from any camera manufacturer to open up that many modular options. So the inputs and outputs are completely open to all the third parties, and we're just starting to see, I think, the tip of the iceberg, as the expression goes, as to what the different options are. Because this becomes very, very modular now with these sort of input-output options. This is, again, the Sidekick, right? Looks like a traditional, well, this looks like the Switchblade that they introduced on the DSMC1 line, but of course there is also this brand new side handle, which is very exciting, right? Right, this is brand new as of this show, so this is the first time I've actually seen it, and I'm looking forward to using this because I think this is perfect for those really quick and dirty kind of shoots. Full controls, you have the toggles, you have the scroll wheel, start and stop, even a few assignable buttons on the side as well. Right, so this is really a fantastic way of working. You know, and this is on a nice SCARLET-W as well. Right, again, I think we're just looking at the tip of the iceberg here. So also some of the more advanced features you're looking at. Things like optical low-pass filters. They are interchangeable just like the DSMC1 line is, but now they're auto-detected. The second you put a new optical low-pass filter in, the camera will report back what it reads. You don't need to go into the menus to change the setting. Right? And there's all these various OLPFs available, from sort of specialty use like the infrared or the underwater shooting versions to the more standard versions, which the appropriately named standard OLPF. Or you have your skin tone highlight or the low light optimized versions as well. Also third-party options as well. Kippertie has made a bunch of what I would call beauty OLPFs and kind of neat effect low-pass filters that are available as well. And now it's a much simpler single Torx. You loosen the Torx, the whole OLPF drops out, you put a new one in and tighten it again, and makes it really easy to do swaps. DSMC1, again, was possible to do as well. Just needed to use 4 screws, not a big deal, but again, it does auto-report that now, which is a fantastic option. Also, 3D LUT loading capability internal to the new DSMC2 line. So on the weapon carbon fiber, the 2 versions of the carbon fiber, you are able to load up to a 33 cube style LUT, standard 3D LUT. On a magnesium weapon, you're able to load a 17 cube LUT, as well as on a SCARLET-W, you can load a 17 cube LUT as well. The Raven, which is again sort of meant to be that really affordable, really compact shooter, that does not have the LUT capability, but the bigger cameras, or I should say the higher tiered cameras, will support the various LUT options as well. And a 3D LUT is a very standard, Andy did a class on this yesterday for, at NAB, and you saw it's very, very quick to load 3D LUTs into the camera like this now. It's a standard .cube file format. Also available with the new weapon update is the black shading capability. Rather than running up to 4 black shades on a sort of frame rate or exposure instance, you now have the new option to go through what they call auto capture. So you can hit the auto capture and it'll calibrate for all of the shutter speeds that you might use at a given temperature. Right, the fan or the thermostat internally keeps the sensor regulated at a fixed or predetermined temperature. So once you've determined your operating temperature, the auto calibrate will set for all of the exposure modes or shutter speeds, which expedites things on set. Right, if you've worked with a DSMC1 product before, you know that sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you need to recalibrate for a given shutter speed. You might get the little warning where the E, lights up and says exposure warning. Not detrimental to your shoot, right? It's just warning you that there might be a little bit more noise than you had initially thought for or planned for. Now with the DSMC2 line, that eliminates all of those variables. That just makes it calibrated for all shutter speeds, right? Which is a huge time saver on location, of course. Right, I don't have a slide for it, but one thing I did forget to mention, of course, is the ProRes recording and now DNX HD edition, simultaneous to your Red Code RAW. So you both, on the same mag, on the same mini mag, you'll have R3D as well as ProRes or Avid DNX files at the same time. Right? And you go through the a drop-down menu, you have the option for QuickTime plus R3D or R3D only. So 3 different record options, and now I guess DNX HD, so you have sort of 4 options for that as well. So again, they've taken a lot of what's really worked, what folks are really already comfortable with. They've improved on a lot of things like the boot up speed's gotten a little bit faster. The modularity is very interesting, right? They've really made this camera about something you can design for yourself, as opposed to the predetermined box idea that a lot of the cameras sort of come out with these days. Even things like the lens mounts, this is nice. If you've ever done a lens mount swap in the field and you've lost one of those 4 screws in the dirt, right? They're now captive, right? So now the 4 Torx screws are captive, so you never lose them. So the good thing is if you are a DSMC1 owner, you can still use the DSMC2 lens mounts as well. So that might just be worth the upgrade alone, in my opinion, because I've lost plenty of screws, in a hurried situation. Same mounts available: PL, EF, Nikon, Leica as well. So again, that's sort of a quick look at, I should also mention, I'm sorry, the built-in microphones, right? That was a common request. Let's be able to record a little bit of scratch audio for reference, get the slate, reference audio, etc. Now there's 2 built-in microphones on the front as well, right? So again, for me, the big thing about the DSMC2 line is really just the functionality of building it the way you want it, and all these new accessories. And again, some of the third-party accessories are really quite amazing. You need to check out the Red booth if you haven't already, because they've lined it with a lot of their partners. And we know there's a lot of other partners, in all the 3 halls that have announced different support for it as well. And probably my favorite, just from the show anyway, is probably the Tilta Max, because that's a really powerful system. They even built in a wireless motor driver here to replace the side kick if you don't want to use that, which I think is pretty clever. And again, being able to use this side handle, or even use a standard outrigger handle. Red has also released the outrigger handle with a start-stop trigger as well. The handle on this SCARLET-W here is the sort of standard, I won't call it dumb, but it's the passive handle. It doesn't have any trigger buttons if you don't need it. All right. So again, all about modularity. We are joined, of course, by 2 fine folks from Red. We have Michael and Nate in the back. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, harass them. They don't know when your SCARLET-W is shipping, so that's the one question they won't. But we know they're actively working very hard on it. That's a goal to really get all those orders out, and everyone's been very, very patient with Red and with us, because I know we have a few outstanding orders as well, so we really appreciate that. So again, we're available for any questions. That's it for now. Again, please talk to the guys at Red and talk to one of us. More than happy to answer any questions. Thanks so much. Stay tuned for more. Thanks.